Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's new episode of the Xbox Factor Podcast. I'm your host, Mr. BoomStick XL. And folks, we have an absolutely outstanding show for you. Lots of conversation happened last night. I don't know if you are a fan of somebody who's relatively new to the scene, Colt Eastwood. I don't know if you heard of him. Yeah, of course, we all know and love Colt. Well, him and Mag on XNC had a lot to say. We're going to break down some of that, as well as some of the comments from Phil Spencer, some of the comments from, of course, Jez Corden, and, of course, a story written by VGC that some people are poo-pooing, but I think is absolutely phenomenal work by Andy Robertson and the team at VGC. But before we get there, folks, I have to put this out there. I have to say something. And please give me just 2 minutes of your time to break this down. As a host, we are responsible for many things. Two of those very important tasks is allowing, panel members to speak freely, identify when they're struggling to make their point, politely step in and assist them in bringing that point forward. What am I getting at? Well, yesterday, as a host, I failed in my duties. On the new episode of the Xbox Lunch Break Special, the newly announced panel member, Gamsley, was trying to make a point from a corporate angle, and he was not given the proper help, patience, and understanding. I also used the term combative when I shouldn't have. It was more simply frustration. So what I was taught by my pops is when a man gets it wrong, or a real man gets it wrong, he gets out there on Front Street and lets everyone know that he got it wrong. And that's what I'm doing here, because I take being a host of Double Barrel Gaming very seriously. I also take very seriously the people that are on my panels. They're here. They're asked to be here. They don't have to be here, but they're here on a show-by-show basis to provide content for my channel. And obviously, all I can offer is exposure. Now, Gamsley, as we know, is a permanent member of the Monday show, the Xbox Lunch Break Special. He will remain that. But what I needed to do as a good host, and as what I like to consider myself a good human being, is publicly apologize for not giving Gamsley the correct and proper time to get through his point. More so, identifying that he was struggling to bring that point forward, and instead of having the correct patience, he was rushed and we never got to it. Now, just for some clarification, there were some people that reached out to me, privately, and was like, "Hey, Boom, you shouldn't have timed him out." That did not happen. His internet did in fact freeze, and he made mention of that when he came back. But that does not take away from the fact that I needed to, for me, as a good host and a good human being, publicly apologize to Gamsley for not giving him the proper time to get through his point. That, my friends, will never happen again. And obviously, he will be back next Monday to reprise his role as a permanent member of that particular show. With that said, I do want to move into introductions. And obviously, FYI, Gamsley and I talked yesterday immediately after the show. But that's private. I just needed to put this out on Front Street for me to let him know how important he is to the show. But with that said, let me get back to, of course, why we're here, and that is to talk about video games, folks. Steel Rain, how you feeling, my brother? We got a lot to get into, and I think we're going to get into I think people have kind of cooled down a little bit. I think
Oh yeah,
we've moved some people
yeah.
off ledges.
They made
I'm
it.
not gonna we're not gonna sit here and make excuses for Microsoft. They dropped the ball. Uh,
Yeah.
Messaging has always been their Achilles heel, and well, surprise, folks, once again, it has hurt them. But we're gonna get into all of that. How you feeling, Steele?
Man, I'm feeling better than ever, and I'm gladly great to be here with you, Boom, locked in on the Xbox Factor podcast. And ladies and gentlemen, I just want to let you know, in case you were worried, Xbox isn't going anywhere.
Indeed.
But we're gonna get into it, Boom. A lot to get into, a lot of hype to bring to the table, and hopefully my energy helps quell some fear out there in the community. Nonetheless, appreciate you for having me, man. Much love.
Well, I appreciate you being a part of the show, brother, and we're gonna get into it. Infinite Umbra, it's not snowing in Chi-Town. You see, I got the sun over here. It's like 45 degrees. I'm disappointed. I wanted blizzard-like conditions. We're not getting them. How you feeling?
I'm good. I think you are the only one that campaigns for snow that I know of. I don't think anybody else does that. No, I'm feeling good, man. It's 37 degrees here in Chicago right now.
Okay,
So,
nice.
yeah, no snow though. So we are blessed in that regard. But yeah, now I'm just happy to be here with you two fellas today. Should have a good discussion. Crazy week, right?
It started on the weekend, which is kind of again. I don't know about you folks.
Yeah,
I look to the
it's been-
weekends to chill.
Yeah, same.
I take 2 days off a week. Mrs. Boom is off 2 days a week. We watch K-dramas. We watch a bunch of films. We hang out. We lounge out. Sometimes we go out for our 5 o'clock hikes, 5 a.m. hikes. We like to and all the weekend was just story after story after story, and I'm like, man, can I catch a break? Can the community catch a freaking break here? Listen, we're gonna get into it, Umbra. There's a lot to break down. And what we're gonna do systematically is we're going to read a specific point from a specific person, and we're gonna break it down, and we're gonna move on to the next one.
All right, perfect.
But listen, real quick, Joseph Moran, aka Mr. Badbit, will be joining us shortly. He wanted to come on, kind of drop his bars. He's going to hang out with us. Some stuff popped off work for him, so he's running a little bit behind. But Mr. Badbit will be joining us in a little bit. But listen, let me go to the DM here, and let me pull up some of the stuff that. Now, again, I got stuff here from Tom Warren. I got stuff here from Phil Spencer. Obviously, we have stuff from Jez Corden. All important points of contention. I have something here from Richard Hogue Lore, and who doesn't like Hogue? So listen, guys, and obviously esteemed audience, this is what Phil had to say. Now, this was met with a lot of likes and retweets, lot of comments as it stands right now. Steele, 8,000 people, 8K commented on this, 11,000 retweets, 40,000 likes, and 2.4K, 2,400 bookmarks. And obviously, we saw how passionate people like Tim Dog and Obriel and Peter Ovo have been. They have basically, put it out there that they are depressed. They are emotional over this. They are saddened by this. And these are all normal emotions. Listen, I know people still get real bent out of shape when you say this is like sports, but it is. You're not going to, no one's going to convince me otherwise.
I think that's fair.
It may not be one-to-one Steele, but it is still comparable. So this is what Phil Spencer had to say after being quiet the entire Saturday and Sunday. Now, again, I know a lot of people like, yeah, Boom, you got to understand something. They're not supposed to respond to every rumor, but this is much more than that. So this is what Phil had to say, folks. Phil Spencer says this, and I quote, "We're listening and we hear you. We've been planning a business update event for next week where we look forward to sharing more details with you about our vision for the future of Xbox, stay tuned. So look, I understand that is not the evidence that everybody wanted or the confirmation that people were looking for. But the first line says that we are listening and we hear you. Now, Phil has said that before, but he's also done some things before, like, I don't know, saved Xbox when it was going to be just cut off like a cancer. And I think that him, Sarah, Matt Booty, and potentially Aaron Greenberg could have potentially saved Xbox again, because obviously some of these decisions we're hearing from, between the lines, were coming from the bean counters, the corpos of Microsoft.
Essentially.
Right. So let's talk about Phil's statement to the peoples. I mean, should this statement alone have calmed some fears?
The statement alone is never going to quell fears. The reason being is because, unfortunately, Xbox is the most talkative, most communicative, at least as far as the gaming industry goes, and what we expect, right? For better or for worse. The statement that he made yesterday came across completely very business centric, and that's exactly what everybody was fearful of. That does not quell any fears or make people fear any less. It actually maybe gives a little bit more fuel to those flames. Now, for me, I do believe that Phil is always going to try to do what is best in what he feels is for the gamers. At the end of the day, Microsoft is a business, Xbox is a business, and I will always speak on what I feel is ill-intended for us as consumers, right? I do think that these things also take time. No matter what he says, there's not, and this is the thing that kind of kills me about the conversation, because people will say, oh, well, why did he come out and say anything? He could have just said it wasn't true. Oh man, it means it's true. We can't just let it down. And look, at this point in Xbox's tenure, it doesn't matter what they say to you. People are going to run with what they want to run with. People are going to blow up what they want to blow up. And it is not Phil's job per se to sit here and quell you as a specific consumer's concern. Now, this is one of those times to where this situation has blown up much more than other things have, like when they tried to raise the price on gold and whatnot and take things away. And we spoke up on that. They reversed some things. That happened pretty quickly, and I don't think it blew up as bad as this did. But as a corporate identity, as you spending the most that you have ever had in the gaming and entertainment space, there could be some truth to some internal conflict happening, right? There are going to be people who are still today, you see it. It's very prevalent that people don't understand what gaming is or what it takes to be a gamer, or they still think that this is a childish thing. So when you're talking about people in business at Microsoft who are not involved in the gaming atmosphere, and you tell these people on the board that, hey, yeah, man, we just spent the most we've ever did in company history in gaming. And they're like, in gaming, what kind of money we making back from that? And they say, oh, it's going to be all down the line. Don't worry, we're going to get people in. We can't do it immediately. We got to do it over time. And then you see this, you see Activision Blizzard go through. Did it make them antsy? We'll never know. Will we get some news next week that I think will be aligned with what was already stated? Because again, I've went back and listened to previous Phil Spencer interviews. I don't think that their strategy has changed so much all of the sudden just because the Activision Blizzard deal went through. Now, again, that could just be me being optimistic. As a fan of Microsoft and the Xbox brand, right? Who's been in the ecosystem since Windows 95 as an example. So like the blood runs real deep when it comes to this. I also know that Microsoft is not a perfect company, and there is potential for that money side of things to come in and be like, look, man, Satya, we might have to look at this different. But this is also the first time that I have at least have been aware of where somebody in a gaming head, and Phil Spencer, as an example, is intrinsically close to the person who is at the top of Microsoft. And that is a conversation that they have to have, because Xbox would not exist if Phil didn't have that conversation with Satya. So there has to be a deeper conversation that's happened there. There's just so many details that have been that are in the wind right now. And I don't think that even with whatever they do next week, that it's going to quell everybody's thirst and going to ease everybody's anticipation. Guys, we're moving further into the digital era.
Yep.
To me, I do believe that Xbox is trying to do what they feel is best for the consumer. We'll see what ends up planning out. But again, per the rumors that we're hearing, I can't wait to see what he ends up speaking to, what he addresses, what other information that we'll get. Again, Xbox Family Pass is supposed to be right around the corner. This doesn't make me want to get invested in, or make others, I would at least say, want to get invested in Xbox Family Pass. If you're like, oh, well, what's the deal with these games? Or are there going to be exclusives? Is there not? Can I wait? Or what's going on? So I think that's the main thing that they got to address. So.
I love it, brother. And I think you're right. I think, look, no one is, let me just say this. I have 3 shows dedicated to the brand.
Mm-hmm.
If anyone is going to be hurt by Xbox potentially going away, it's going to be me, right? Like, I put a lot of work into coming up with the shows, making 3 of the 5 shows dedicated to Xbox. It's my favorite brand. It's my favorite community. I put a lot of work into this. I work on this show 7 days a week, folks. That is no bullshit. That is straight up the truth. I don't podcast on the weekends because, like I said, those are reserved for Mrs. Boom. Those are only 2 days off. But I work on this show 7 days a week, and three of the 5 shows are dedicated to Xbox. Not because I'm a corporate stooge. It's my favorite brand. I like talking about Xbox. But again, I'm not going anywhere, like I told you folks yesterday in the opening, regardless one way or another. And I know that there are some people specifically in this chat on social media, whether it be on TikTok, whether it be on X, whether it be on any of your favorite places, Discord, that are disappointed, as you should be. Now, there are some people out there poking fun, pointing, look at these knuckleheads. They're going to feel stupid next week. No, we're not. Because I'm going to tell you something right now. If it goes the way I'm hearing it's going, it's because of us that the change happened. The same way the change happened with Xbox Live Gold, going from $60 to $120. We went out there and we screamed to high heavens. And they heard us and they changed course in 7 hours. Mm-hmm. Went right back on it. And look, I know a lot of people wanted them to come out and in the snap make their decision, put the heels into the sand, let's go, right? But this is a $3 trillion company, and again, I'm sorry to say, not making excuses. When your Xbox division is making more money on and is listed higher than Windows. You're going to get some eyeballs from the knucklehead bean counters who think
we got to be living in the Matrix.
Yeah, honestly. And you got to remember, Steele just said it. These aren't gamers. They see the world through X's and O's, ones and O's, and how many beans they can count. That's just what they do. They don't have passion like we do, and they can't equate what fandom will shift a company one way or another. So if there is change, and I believe that there was, based on what we're hearing, it's because we came out here and said, whoa, I'm sorry, what? Third-party Xbox? That's ridiculous. And we spoke. And there's some people, sure, there's extremists, but we all came out, I think, as a unified voice and let them know, boy, this shit ain't right. We'll see. We'll see what happens next week. But
we started talking like Steve Harvey. We were like, you gonna put what, where, and why? That's what we started doing.
I love it. So listen, before I get to you, Umber, let me catch up on some of the super chats. We got a few channel memberships here. First of all, Sith Lord, who is an amazing community member, he is always helping the content creation community. Certainly not just Mr. Boomstick. He gets out there. He talks about On Point Gamers with C Money and Doodle. He gets out there and talks about Steel Rain and Pong Soul. He gets out there and talks about Infinite Umbra, among others, including the Longhouse Gaming podcast with the amazing hosts, as we know, upcoming exploding on the scene hosts. And he puts it out there on the social. So, Sith Lord, thank you, kind sir, for all that you do. He says this, Colt and King said everything will be okay. Just wait for Phil to speak, and we can go from there. If things change, we will adapt. Everything will be okay. Yeah, listen, brother, those are two leaders, right? King and King David of Iron Lord fame, and, of course, Colt Eastwood, which we're going to get into what Colt Eastwood and Mag, the middle-aged game guy, had to say last night about a portable Xbox. Ooh, I'm salivating, folks. And mind you, I had a Steam Deck, and I currently have ROG Ally that's sitting in a case. I never use it. It's just over my mohawk, man. It just really is. Sir X-Man drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, we are having a super early spring in Chicago.
Oh, wow.
And obviously, Infinite Umbra, who's in Chi-Town, could confirm that.
Yes, indeed.
Iman Burns. What's going on, Iman? How you feeling, brother? He says this, who's been a channel member for 20 months. He says, respect to you, Boom, for doing that in front of the entire, on the internet. That's a brave move. Makes me like you more. Very cool. Listen, my pops is the greatest man I've ever known. That's just a fact. And there is nobody in my best day, and he would disagree. On my best day, I don't even think I could lace up one of his boots, to be quite fair. He would disagree with me, but that's my pops is on the pedestal of pedestals. And he taught us a lot of things. And the one thing that we learned is when you're wrong, you come out there and you tell people that you were wrong and you make it right. That's my pop's integrity was infallible. So that's the man he made in me. Hey, Mr. Badbit, what's going on, brother? How are you feeling?
The trophy room.
Oh, Mr. Badbit, are you there, kind sir?
Just maybe he know bad.
Oh yeah, so there he is.
Yeah, not getting our games on PlayStation. I'm just letting you know that first thing in the morning.
Mr. Badbit, we'll be with you in a hot second, brother. Get your stuff together. The Longhouse Gaming Podcast. Speak of the devil, obviously the Black Viking and crew drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, we rolling this Viking ship until it sinks. As long as Xbox Game Pass exists, I know where I'll be playing my Xbox and /PC. Love y'all. And I love you as well, brother. Thank you so much for that.
Can you guys hear me now?
We can hear you, kind sir. How are you feeling, Joe?
My Go XLR is feeling a little bit like Xbox leadership right now. It's very finicky. You know
there you go. But we're going to get into it, Joe. We love you, brother. It is so great to have you on today's show. We haven't had you here in a minute.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It has been too long, actually, and it's great to have you here. First of all, Highlander 001, he once again, my goodness, has gifted 5 double barrel gaming memberships. And speaking of which, of course, Sean Labrie, the great artist that I work with, has delivered 25 new chat icons that I am uploading. He literally just finished the work. They are awesome. Guess what? They celebrate all 3 platforms, but of course, Xbox, we got a few extras. I would say 10 extra Xbox in there, all thanks to the work of the amazing Sean Labrie. And those I'll be uploading this afternoon, getting that done. So you'll have tomorrow when we go live on Primetime Gaming, you'll have all your new icons. Plus, of course, some of the old ones we'll keep. But yeah, I wanted to do something new, and that's there you go. Let's see. Scott Gamer Dude has become a new channel member. Scott, thank you so much for the generosity, kind sir. We have Sir Riffs a Lot drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, Tomito cancel Game Pass subs. See if Xbox pivots. Time to. Okay, so Time to. I mean,
Sure.
they've already seen it. People have been canceling it. I saw a lot of middle fingers pictures yesterday. Listen, you know how they learn? They learn when you give them pow pow and take away the money. That's what happens. And anyone that's Hispanic knows what pow pow is, and the chaclenta, which my mother was good at throwing. And well, there's that.
My grandma was like Captain Hispanic when she was throwing that thing around. Hit me, come right back. You know.
You know, when you walked into the house, you always looked where my grandmother's and my mother's chancletas were. Right?
That's right.
You looked. Now, my grandmother, she had like, if you remember, again, she used to walk around in a house coat, right? That's old school right there. With the little thin ones, they were thin.
Mhm.
And I'm like, Grandma, those can't be comfortable. Oh no, they're comfortable, right? So if they hit you, you're like, that's gonna hurt. But my mama, used to wear these thick things that were like an inch and a half thick, and you got hit, and you were like, damn,
a Mayweather punch right there.
Yeah. I'm like, damn, it was unnecessary. And, you know, she would say a bunch of other things also, but I can't repeat those. This is a PG-13 show.
That's
but
right.
because of that, those flying chancletas is why I'm a better man for what I am. But Infinite Umbra, let's read Phil Spencer's statement again. He says this: we are listening. We hear you. We've been planning a business update, which is kind of like nails on a chalkboard, nails on a chalkboard a little bit for next week, where we look forward to sharing more details with you about our vision for the future of Xbox. Stay tuned. What does that do for you as an Xbox fan?
Gives me unbelievable anxiety.
Yeah.
No, seriously. When I read it, I was like, that's not what I wanted to hear. And also, honestly, I didn't want them to give me a statement like that. I wanted them to flat out address it this week. Having to ask us to have the patience to wait a whole week after we heard doomsday plans being dropped, and as Clobrill and others called it, Order 66.
Yep.
It was like
not good.
Yeah, it's like I didn't want to see this, brother. Like I need more clarity in a more expedient time frame. You know, and then when you hear the way he framed it, the business plan, it's like, oh no. I hear the business update and all of that event. It kind of co-signs a lot of things we had heard. Now, again, remember you pointed out that, you know, this past weekend, well, I had been going through it since Friday. And I'm not going to go too far into it because, you know, I'm making sure to protect a guest. However, some of this is what I've been hearing already. I didn't pay attention to it at first. This is how because we had already been hearing details of Sea of Thieves rather, Hi-Fi Rush. So when I had that said on my show, I was kind of like, oh, okay, you know, so we'll be heard, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I kind of wrote it off. Then I saw Idle Sloth's tweet. Well, first I started seeing notifications. I'm like, oh, I have seen this person on my podcast before. Hey, thank you for coming through. You know, I'm like, hey. Then I started seeing more. I'm like, Reset Era. I don't mess with Reset Era. Like, why is my podcast on there? And then I started seeing my view count go up. I'm like, it's a lot of people watching me. I didn't think this show was that big for that.
But you run a good show, so don't be surprised by the success, my friend.
Yeah. But
you give toot the horn a little bit.
Yeah, a little toot. But you know, it got, you know, crazy, and then it started going wild, and a lot of people, you know, got emotional. But then Sunday hit, which was my birthday, and man,
the way you wanted to spend your birthday, brother.
Yeah, not the best news for my birthday. I think that news, I know that news clearly overtook anything that was happening with me that was said on my show. I mean, you look at Phil's tweet and you have to understand how gigantic this is, right? I mean, he has nearly 12 million views on this. He has 40, like almost 40,000 likes, over 3,000 or whatever so bookmarks. This is super important. And you know, we look at the heaviness of this right here. Man, it's a lot riding on that, right? You see a lot of people who even caved to I wouldn't say depression, but caved to
Oh, I would say depression.
Yeah, no,
I would
just
say
it.
like those people, they needed like
was
we
far.
needed to watch out for them. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Mhm.
Yeah, we had a
You
few of our Hoover brothers talking about little hug your the X-bot. I'm like, don't you dare touch me. But
I saw that was hilarious.
you keep your hooves to yourself. But my response to Phil, and I'm sure he didn't read this, but I was just saying, like, let's hope the extra time needed to address us means you all have rethought what we all know you're about to do, Phil, because this is a lot of time before uncertainty. The problem I had with that is I mean, I know they have to get their messaging right, and I know they have to talk things over, and maybe, just maybe, like you said, boom, there was a pivot. We saw our brother Tim Dog going off.
Yeah.
Throughout.
I mean, listen, he's Mr. Xbot. I mean, look, I mean, the only one, the only other person that I can say with full authority that I would put side by side and would not move one past the other, considering, you know, Bleeding Green or Mr. Bot, would be Clobriel. And even Clobriel was like, you know, I'm shutting down my persona. I'm getting off social media. I've done enough free work for Xbox. This is a spit in the face. I'm gone. And when Clobriel is making, because I have a statement, it's pretty lengthy, but yeah, and I know people are making fun. Oh, look at these stupid grown men all upset. Let me tell you something, man. When you invest money, potentially thousands of dollars in the ecosystem that's known for listening to the consumer, because this is coming from PlayStation players who don't get this kind of you have no idea what your roadmap looks like. No one from Sony has been talking. No one's the last time you heard anything from Sony was when Jim Ryan was walking out the door and Hiroki Totoki was taking over as the interim. That's it.
You don't hear anything on that side.
What a fun name it is.
It is a fun name. You know what? Fun for me, because I usually butcher those names and I got it right. So hooray for Boom.
You hit it with the New Jersey /
That's right.
Brooklyn.
No one understands Jersey pronunciation. You know, it's hard for us to top, man. It really is.
Yeah, I think he has a really literal, like illiterate. What do they call illiterate name? But anyway, a literal name. But no, but my thing is, we had all this happen and a lot of trepidation in the community, and I think it just shows how important it is to all of us. I think a lot of people take it and twist our intent as a community too. When we hear that right there, it sounds like the end of this community. That's the worst part of the feeling for all of us. You know, I think that was the bigger point, because now it felt like the uncertainty felt like, where do we go from here?
Yep.
Now am I going to be relegated to the PlayStation brand?
Well, welcome you in with open arms.
I'm sure open hooves.
That's right.
But no, but
you
no,
got used to them. You know, like you don't need thumbs, really.
I feel like they would treat us like redheaded stepchildren when we came over there. Hey guys, coming from Xbox, shut up and mop the floor. I don't know.
I mean, honestly, even with that and take into consideration, I still think people were overacting. I still think people were overblowing it.
I think people are still doing it.
Oh yeah, of course, and then they're going to continue to, because again, I mean, the brand definitely is good for the public to talk about. So, I mean, for me, either you're going to be a fan of the brand or you're not. If they make a change and you don't like it, jump off. Send that message to them. But you have a library and you're just going to let your library go because you think that they're going to get rid of the box that they're not going to get rid of and that nobody's ever confirmed, and we're running with rumors now. We're going to blow things up. It's completely out of proportion.
Point of contention right there too. Still,
it's a talking point
about that as far as their library, right? So a lot of people are saying, "Hey, what about my library? What about the next Xbox?
Why don't we worry about the library on any other device then?
Because
Xbox is the only ecosystem. I mean, I see that point, but the point that I'll make in that on the reverse is Xbox is really the only main ecosystem that has consistently put out that, hey, we value your library. We want things to move forward. We've been honing this since the 360 generation with cloud saves and making it seamless and making it accessible. To take it away all of a sudden now because of a business move, again, if that was the case, yeah, that would have been the dumbest thing that they've ever done in company history. And that probably would have been in Forbes' top 3 best ways to ruin your company. Not just Xbox for Microsoft.
No question.
You know, but I don't think it was that far.
I don't know. The way that I see it, and it's coming through my perspective, right?
Mhm.
I'm a PlayStation first type of dude. And I'm in this like weird in between where like I grew up with Xbox. Like I love Halo. It's in the background.
He's the best Halo player I've ever played with.
I'll go toe to toe with anybody.
That dude is a murderer. I'm telling you right now.
He's riddled with arthritis.
Allow me
last in the ring with me for 2 minutes.
Allow me to introduce you to Jasper sometime.
Send it. Listen, I'll take any challenge.
Jasper's really good, but I you know what? No. It would be a fight. I'm gonna tell you that right now.
But like I love Gears of War, like Halo and Gears. I was thinking about this morning. Like they're on my Mount Rushmore of like my favorite multiplayer games of all time. And so like I have really fond memories of Xbox. I have fond memories of PlayStation as I do with Nintendo, and I could understand why people are, you know, mixed up all about this. And you're right. Listen, I think there's truth to being like, listen, there's 40-year-old men online that are upset. And at the same exact time go, yeah, but like I remember when I was like 12 and I got my Xbox 360 and my mom literally called me out of school and
that's a great story, Joe.
Yeah, it was
that
my Christmas gift.
Great story. And it's like, I love it.
I could understand while forming those attachments, also detaching yourself to what is a changing environment. And so like for me, I bought an Xbox Series X for what? Halo, Gears, and Game Pass. And Game Pass has been the number one thing of why I turn on my Xbox.
Right.
So for me, I don't see the pivot as like this most horrendous thing ever. We were actually talking about it on the trophy room when we were talking about the Insomniac hacks of like PlayStation has the same problem Xbox has. They have both hit a ceiling. Xbox has hit a ceiling with Game Pass, and PlayStation has hit with the number of people that they're able to reach to when one of their big games come out. And the problem with hitting that ceiling is that the budgets for all these games are going up, and up. And you need to find a way to continue on making money to continue that growth. Right. So, you know, it is pointed to say, while PlayStation makes the most on their games, they also spend the most. And so PlayStation is also trying to figure out a way of cutting down development costs. And that may be translated to how they push to PC. But even PlayStation, like 2 weeks ago, said, hey, listen, we want to still center everything around our box, but we also have to expand to PC, cloud, and mobile. And what that spells to me is that PlayStation sees iPads and iPhones as the competition. Look at what, if the writing isn't on the wall right now, we just see a iPhone being able to play Resident Evil 4 on the go, right? It may not look the prettiest, but it's still playing Resident Evil 4 Remake on the go, and you can plug it into your TV and you can have a similar experience that you would on a PS4. So like that future is coming, and Xbox sees that future, and that's why they've seen such a push to mobile. Right. That's why, you know, Apple's rules and regulations have kind of stunted their growth for cloud. And now that Apple is kind of breaking, you know, is forcibly letting others onto that ecosystem, Xbox finds a way of saying, okay, well, listen, in 4 or 5 years from now, how important is this box? Like real talk. They're building, and what we've been trying to champion for a while is like building ecosystems. You can hear us in 2018 on the Trophy Room, a PlayStation podcast, say that the future in the next 10 to 15 years is not boxes, it's apps. And Xbox, as we have seen, talked about mobile, cloud, and PC since what, 2017. So as we were all like, oh, is this the end of Xbox? It's not. It's the evolution. It's happening. And it's going to happen to PlayStation. That's why on Sunday, I was eating it all up. Seeing all these people that that make lazy content about the console wars. Suddenly, they have to now pivot to something actually creative. And For me, I'm seeing all these other folks pile on, right, with the hooves out and going, man, this is you in 4 or 5 years. Settle down. Like this is it. This is exciting.
Well, Xbox
because
is already here, Joe. Look, this is the controller. Looks like an Xbox 360 controller, but you know what this is? This is for the Samsung gaming hub.
exactly.
I got one of the tip of the spear TVs. I've never owned a TV this good, folks. I'm not rich, so it took a long time to get here. I bought this TV last year, best reviewed gaming TV of the year, and the hub is freaking amazing. It's got GeForce Now. It's got Xbox Game
So,
Pass.
Imagine your Apple TVs, your Fire Sticks, whatever it is. That's where Xbox wants to be. It is about the ecosystem. And I think people have invested so much into the box because not only do the boxes still matter right here, right now, today, but they mattered since we started gaming, since the Atari 2600, right? So like, that's why we have this attachment, because we don't like change. Change is really scary to us, but usually change is good for us. So what we're seeing right now is all these companies are struggling to find a way to grow the AAA market. And
I agree.
it's unsustainable. And so what you're seeing is them expand outwards. Guys, it's okay that it's not about the box anymore. I don't feel like it's doom and gloom, because to me, I'm playing Sea of Thieves because it's on Game Pass, and that's allowing me. For example, I played Starfield Xbox. I put about 50 hours into it, really liked it. Lies of P came out, and I'm like, oh shoot, this is also on Game Pass, and I'm gonna go ahead.
Very Bloodborne-esque.
Right. And then Cocoon comes out, and I'm like, oh, Cocoon's all right, let me go ahead and let me try that. And so that's what Game Pass is. That's the motivation. And what Xbox is hoping is that the Game Pass brings you into the ecosystem, and then with their storefront, they go, okay, you know what? I actually really like this. Oh, this is on sale. Let me go buy that. Let me go buy this. And you eventually become a consumer of it.
Bad bit, brother. Now I think we all know that at this point, right? Like we know the lure of Game Pass.
Yeah.
We know that's the essential exclusive of the thing. However, there's some change not everybody wants to have, and I think this future, and Microsoft they are very future think forward, right? When it comes to things, sometimes to their detriment. I don't think we are quite at that point yet. Even at the point I'm talking about, as far as leaving the box behind, we're not quite at that point to go to this.
Well, again, that's why. Again, FYI, folks, and again, this cat's out the bag. I would imagine that when he says that, his exact terminology is the business update, we're going to learn some stuff. I don't know what we're going to learn, but we're going to get it. I think what happened with this, and the truth of the matter is, this starts with Tim Stewart. He is the CFO of Xbox. I said this on my show weeks ago. I thought personally, I'm not saying the guy is not smart. He's a CFO of Xbox. Guy's got more papers than I do, and he's making a lot more money than I do. So he's obviously knowledgeable. But I thought that he spoke out of turn. And what do I mean by that? Well, when he was at that meeting with investors, he could have walked away and said, we want Xbox and Xbox Game Pass on every screen possible. And no one would have thought the wiser. But when he mentioned PlayStation and Nintendo, I think that, yes, this might have been a plan at some point, but the plan was not supposed to be revealed. And I think, again, I don't know what's going to happen with him. Is he in a pickle? I don't know. But because of that, that statement, we have been dealing with this third-party Xbox shit for weeks now.
He let slip, I think, their plans a little bit. That's what it sounded like. Right.
So now, like I said in the opening, people, I see who's out there making fun of like even me. You listen. I'm a nerd, folks. It's fine. You can say whatever you want. Trust me, I heard worse as a cop. You're not going to hurt my feelings. It's okay. You can call me a nerd, call me a man baby, whatever. It's fine. I listen. Throw the virtual tomatoes. It's okay. But I think us being a vocal community and Xbox being a community first especially on the Xbox side. I can't say for Microsoft. They are who we thought that they were, right? But Xbox has always spoken to us. Sarah Bond, Aaron Greenberg, Matt Booty, Phil Spencer, games with us, for crying out loud. You don't see that anywhere else. So we getting out here and showing our distaste for third-party Xbox. No, listen, folks, I'm sorry to say, I know that I'm the dinosaur here, and I know that I'm not trying to be the virtual gatekeeper, but at some point, exclusives matter. They've mattered when I was a kid. They matter when I was a teenager, a semi-adult, and I think they even matter now. And to suggest that you're going to put everything and anything on Xbox, why invest in the console now? I get it. The supposed outlier is Xbox Game Pass, right? $16.99 a month. You get all these great games, but if you want to play them on PlayStation, go ahead. I think that, listen, you want to put a Sea of Thieves on there, fine. You want to put a Hi-Fi Rush, I'm not okay with it, but okay, fine. But when we start hearing rumors, which of course they're going to address next week, Gears of War, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
Like,
Just imagine how that's going to feel on a DualSense, you know?
I don't want to know.
It can't feel great.
This is a bigger problem too, right? Yeah,
Oh, it's gonna
you
feel
hear
something,
stuff.
a
You hear
chainsaw.
Gears, you hear Halo, you hear
Sure, the triggers. Yeah.
you hear all these different games. There's all these major
And like
tentpoles.
it
Those are
gets easier
tentpoles right there.
as you chainsaw them. You know what I mean? Like as the chainsaw
As-
gets lower.
as
Oh,
sounds
God.
terrible.
Here we go.
But this is the
Oh.
problem. This is the problem I have with that whole narrative, and I kind of get a little irritated when I hear that. Like, oh, exclusives. Hey, like we're just supposed to be kumbaya over here and accept that the exclusives that we had on Xbox go everywhere else, but nobody else has to go through that. PlayStation gamers don't have to go through that.
Well, they don't make multiplayer games, Umber.
But that's irrelevant. We're here. So like, and we're dedicated to this platform, and we've been dedicated. So it's like they don't have to go through that. Only Xbox gamers have to worry about an uncertainty of their future, of their platform of choice. That is the problem at hand.
And that has been a problem.
He got he's got the he got the gun. but
I have
that's the biggest problem.
It's right above me, right here, with a pair of cog tags. Yep.
But that's the biggest problem right there. It's like, even if the thought that, well, we should get over it. Exclusives don't really, there should be no walled garden. Exclusives, there should be no exclusive. Every game should be everywhere. That's a utopian, idealistic view that just does not exist. Because
I
other
believe
platforms
out
are
of this,
not
they
going
got
to
it
have
right.
that. That's the biggest problem, and it's always only Xbox.
Yes. No, you're Umbra. You're knocking it out of the park, brother. It is the absolute truth. It's always Xbox. Yeah, it still works, Joe. Look at that.
I know.
Look at you. Okay.
Like the bare arms,
Listen, folks. We have a comment here from Jez Corden. Again, this came after the Phil Spencer statement, and this is a response. Hold on a second. Let me just pull this up right here. Gene Park. Who doesn't love Gene Park? I mean, that guy has been through the ringer, and he's still here. Shout out to Gene Park man. That guy doesn't quit. I love that. I love that dude. He don't know who I am, but Gene, I know who you are, sir. Before I get to that, though, I got to catch up on the super chats. There's been quite a few of them, and before they get out of control, let me catch up with it. Lord Roughness, generous friend of the program, says this after dropping a £5 super chat. Hi, Boom. I took Phil's statements as this. Y'all talking crazy. Calm down. I can't stand PlayStation controller ecosystem. So whatever. I'm Team Green for life. I love how he equated what Phil said to that. That's good stuff right there. Great translation, dude. Highlander 001 drops an additional $5 super chat, and he says the morale at Xbox must be in the gutter today. My Game Pass expires in 2 weeks. Depending on what I hear next week, will tell me if it will be renewed. I mean, listen, that's how you hurt him in pocket. That's how you do it.
And to shout out to that brother, and to King, who said much of the same.
Yes, King David, Mr. Xbox himself.
He said, hey, hit them in the pockets and cancel your subscription if they're doing some things you don't like. And I think that's the big thing. I wonder just how much that will affect them if the bottom line, if people are saying, hey, we're not going to keep paying for
How
this.
many people say it but actually do it?
I saw a
that's
lot of
the
that
point,
though,
you know?
Joe. I mean,
That's the
listen, I don't
point.
know if it's in the tens of
Yeah.
thousands, but people are going to vote with their wallet as they should.
Yeah,
and
but I
think,
see a lot of crazy stuff on social media that ends up like, oh, it's the masses. And it's like, no, it's not really. Like,
Yeah, I know.
No, it's not,
listen,
it's not
listen,
true.
vote with your wallet. I'm not telling you not to, but like, how many people are going to cancel and stay canceled? Again,
I
those
mean,
digital
but
libraries or
again,
something else.
but it's
Because like
true.
to me, it's like where are you going to go? PlayStation, where you're going to spend $70 on these games?
No. You're correct. But again, if there's
PC
a
where
mass cancellation, it will raise an eyebrow. Again, we don't know how big it would have to be to raise an eyebrow at Microsoft because they're a $3 trillion company. But again, that's how you hurt them.
I think you could possibly go to the route where people only pay for, like, let's say, a month or when
Yeah.
it's exclusive
And
they want,
cancel. Yeah.
and then cancel. It could go
Yeah,
like
fair
that.
enough.
I don't know.
And
I
People
feel
want,
like
people want me to stop showing off the wares. I shall not, sir.
No,
shall not.
his wares are great. I wish I could show off my wares. They're all
Revive
awesome. You can't even
me.
tell.
Exactly.
Michael Mooney drops a very generous £5 super chat and says it's interesting they were planning an update to their business plans 1 month
Mhm.
before GDC 2024. Yeah, I mean, this was supposedly going to happen in the spring. You heard that story break over the weekend with Sarah Bond taking the lead on that.
Mhm.
And that obviously that time table has been moved up until next week because they can't sit on this. They can't wait. In fact, I'm annoyed, folks. I'm not even sitting front. I'm already annoyed that it's only Tuesday and I got to wait till next week when we
Mhm.
don't even know next week. Is
Yeah,
it an
come on.
Xbox Wire announcement? Is it a Phil Spencer video on
Mhm.
Monday or Tuesday? I don't know. But the fact that we got to wait until next week, I'm not even going to front, folks.
Frustrating.
I'm annoyed as all hell
Mhm.
that I have to wait a week. Sorry, I just am.
It's frustrating because it leaves all of us in that flux.
In limbo.
Yeah.
We're in limbo. We're just kind of chilling. Oh yeah, limbo, real nice. Sucks to
Ah,
be here, but you
Look
know,
at that. It's quiet and cloudy.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's the problem, right?
Yeah.
Is that we are just left here to kind of, have this speculation going on about, well, is this going to happen? Is that? I think the good news is that we're starting to see, clear skies now. But
yes, and we're
still
gonna
worrisome.
get into some of the comments out there from some people that I trust. That again, you trust who you want, who I look to for confirmation on things. Before we get to that, Starfield guy drops a very generous £5 super chat and says consoles aren't going anywhere. I have a digital Series X. Says we have a digital Series X this year. Then 2026 2 SKUs. One being a dockable console and the other a more powerful box. Yeah, that story was broken last night on Colt Eastwood's show, XNC, with, of course, himself, Colt Eastwood, and the middle-aged gamer guy, Mag, as he's known. And that's big news. We're gonna try and get into that as well. Highlander 001 drops an additional $2 super chat and says Microsoft stocks jumped yesterday by 6%. I know that they were trending downwards. I don't know what
bit.
jumped them, but
It's
we'll see.
Microsoft.
Dean Rivera drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, I've been stressing since Sunday. Saved up my lawn mowing money, and as a middle schooler to get an Xbox 360. Xbox is my number one platform. Hope for good news, brother Dean. That's a great story, brother, and that's we're hearing some good things. We're hearing that some serious change was made, and that's all thanks to the community that went out there and was like, yeah, this is not good. Murph one drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, I really believe that all three will be going third party at some point. Microsoft is just the first to do it. Very possible. Though Nintendo, I don't know
about all that.
They walk to their own drum, man. If Nintendo doesn't need anybody, their new console is going to take over the world when it's announced. And they have OPS. By the way, this week there is a Nintendo Direct on the 8th, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't know. They said like 40 minutes. It's games, but they could do a console reveal as well. So stand by for that. BT Maverick 707 drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, Mr. Badbit, how would you feel if this was in reverse to PlayStation? Just curious what your thoughts are. Also, no games coming back from Xbox.
I mean,
Joe, if this was if shoe on the other foot, Kratos, God of War, Spider-Man 2018, Uncharted 1, all dropping on Xbox, would it matter to you?
no. Don't I personally listen, as long as I have this controller in my hand, I personally really don't care. I get that's like really hard to believe, but like I already see that future. Again, I've seen this future happening since like 2018. It's gonna happen. And I think I said it, back in 2018. I see a future where we're playing Xbox games on PlayStation and PlayStation games on Xbox. We already started to see that with MLB The Show under different circumstances, but like, who would have thought that, we would see PlayStation games on PC? So as long as, game prices,
console games overall,
console
games on PC overall was not a thing that was like,
that's why I'm like, that's why I'm staunchly on this side of like, you're gonna see an app on one of these things. Like when they talk about cloud, they talk about mobile. Like, I definitely see a day where you're playing like a Last of Us on an iPhone. Yeah, 100%. So like personally, I don't care. That's why when I saw the meltdowns on Sunday and I saw all those people jumping in, I'm like, guys, they're gonna do this too one day. I don't think Nintendo has
they don't need to.
They
literally don't need to.
I
don't think we'll be alive at that point when that happens.
Yeah, no.
Like Nintendo makes not to say they make the most money, but like look at a game like Animal Crossing, 43 million. Not even PlayStation's highest seller, which is Spider-Man, has been able to crack that. And I think still, Rain, what you're saying, accessibility, it matters. It's about getting these things on more screens. So like if PlayStation won the console war, does it really matter? And does PlayStation truly care? No, because they got their own problems to figure out. Everybody has their own problems to figure out right now, and they're all trying to figure out how to solve those things. So, will I be bummed if Last of Us gets to be played by more people? No. It's gonna feel weird. I bet I'll feel weird when that time comes. I bet I'll feel weird when I'm playing Gears on a PlayStation, but it's gonna be cool that more people get to experience.
You talking with such certainty right now. I don't like how you talking, bad bitch.
Listen, man, real talk. If they wanted to shut down these rumors, they would have said it's not going to happen. The whole like, we hear you guys, we hear you. True. It's like, you heard us, but are you going to do anything about it? It is important to vote with your wallet. It very much is. If you're firmly against this idea that more people get to play your games, then go for it. Cancel it.
Yeah, and I think the other side. Let's go real quick before we transfer over, Boom, because I know we don't want to sit on this forever.
This dude is a pony. I'm literally, I literally just got done playing Halo. Okay, but relax.
With that taken into consideration,
I'm sorry, reality hurt you in a way that you didn't like. I just came out with a Lancer and a guy. Like, people were like, "Put the Lancer down," and I'm somehow a pony. You want me to get the Lancer back out? Is that gonna?
No, it's fine. He has a PlayStation podcast, one of the best in the business, by the way. Folks, but
tribalism and brand
Xbox
identity.
Guy.
Tribalism and brand identity are going to always exist, right? You're going to always want something that you attach yourself to, and there's nothing wrong with that. The one thing that I do want to ask us as gamers is that the thing that I always enjoyed about consoles was the innovation. Right now, between the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series consoles, where's the innovation between the two? Outside of the storage, and where do you think this is going to go into the future? Unless one of them decides to make games completely different, everything is on base PC architecture now. So where do you think that this is going to go? So are you just going to give up the ecosystem that you're so passionate about? To Umber, because I know you're passionate about it, and I don't want to have that whole conversation here because I can get into it for hours about this, because I feel like there is different sides of fandoms too, right? As an Xbox fan, it extremely gets me upset when I hear single player gamers try to tell me as a multiplayer gamer what is good for my Xbox ecosystem. Because single player gamers traditionally, as we are seeing today, are holding back gaming moving forward. Those games are not selling the way that they used to.
Yep.
Multiplayer games are. Fortnite, Roblox, Halo, Gears. Gears is dying because It is a difficult game to play multiplayer wise. Once you get out of the single player, that's it. If my player base dwindles because, for an example, Umbra says, "Oh, I don't want Gears to go anywhere else." And again, I'm not attacking you, Umbra. We can always have a conversation about this later. But for anybody, you want your multiplayer, and I'm only going to speak to the multiplayer side of things. You want these games to be exclusive to a platform when I thought we were supposed to be expanding the gaming atmosphere. What are we talking about? So are you a fan of your plastic box, or are you a fan of the games in your ecosystem? Because Xbox can stop selling consoles tomorrow, and the ecosystem is way beyond anything else anybody has on the market. And I would never pull away from that. Now, that's what I feel like makes me an Xbox fan, but it doesn't make me the end all to be all. And that's one important thing that I've learned from this community as somebody that many people would probably consider a sweat, right? Games matter to multiple people. All games matter. I used to think that certain types of gamers were casuals. Everybody's a gamer. We're enthusiasts. We're trying to see the best. And I get the whole brand thing. And yes, exclusives matter to a certain degree, but when are we going to move things forward? And when are we going to allow innovation to happen? And I think that's what Xbox is trying to do.
Well, Rain, I think you made great points. And I think for when it comes to multiplayer, absolutely, you're right. If there are multiple platforms that serves that multiplayer base better. Halo being on PlayStation, is disgusting as that sounds and makes my stomach churn. Absolutely, probably would increase, our player base.
Again,
they would get trounced, of course. We would stomp them and teabag them into oblivion, but that would help in that case. I agree. However, you asked the question of, are you a fan of the plastic box or ecosystem? I think we're a fan of both. I think multiple things can exist at once.
Oh yeah, for sure. There's always the gray. I believe in the gray.
Absolutely,
everything. There's definitely a gray area.
I say that to say because it was a good discussion. Our brothers Kaya Santi and Everborn, shout out to them.
That was a great.
Had with our brother Paris over the weekend. I was a part of that. In an audience, saying what I had to say, and part of the thing is they were talking. The discussion was about sports fanaticism versus gaming fanaticism. And Paris was on the side that gaming fanaticism is different. He said it wasn't
silly.
Silly. He didn't want to say it was bad, but that to me, I think that's scratching hairs. And you're basically saying it's bad.
He put some
lines. And all love to Paris. No shade to him. But I think other people look at things in gaming and say, well, do you want this? And it's bad here, but you do it in every other aspect. With sports, we attach ourselves to that team. We're not part of that team. You know what I mean? And so I think it's okay to a degree. Now we shouldn't go too crazy, of course, but I think it's okay to have an attachment to that thing, and that thing would be the platform as well as the ecosystem, within reason, of course. Now, this is the only problem I had, and I said this earlier. It goes back to it again, where we say, well, we got to let go of the single player thing so we can have innovation.
We should let it go now.
Well, I forget how you worded exactly, but like we have to. The single player kind of holding back innovation. I think it was the way you said it. My only problem with that is that why is it always Xbox that has to be, and us as the Xbox consumers that have to be the sacrificial lambs in this case? That's the only problem I have with that.
And I think that conversation would probably take us into a whole day. It's going to take us some time to break down.
Indeed.
So, but again, I definitely, my biggest point is that I think every angle to Bad Bit's point, I think to everybody's point here, I feel like the conversation is warranted, right? We as consumers should cry out, should say, hey, we feel like you're not communicating, but because you are the only one that does really communicate with us, we're going to give you every side of that whether you like it or not. And it's up to Xbox to decipher that information and figure out what works for them and what doesn't. At the end of the day, at the end of the day, we as consumers also have to understand that they're a corporation, but we as consumers, and again, I always go to this too, and I'll continue to stand on this. I still think that this form of entertainment, we still have the most impact compared to any other form of entertainment that exists today. Unfortunately, depending on how you look at it. And I just want us to keep that in mind.
Well, listen, real quick. Again, we're gonna get into what Mag had to say last night. I have a couple of reports in from Next Gen Xbox. Who's the site here? Hold on. This is from Alt Chair or Char.
Okay.
They ran a story. Quite a few people ran a story. This is the one I happened to pick. I pick up, but just for context of the whole conversation, whether this calms your your nerves or it doesn't. What happened was Jez Corden was responding to Gene Park, who said it's about to be the longest week for the Xbox community, and Gene Park was responding to Phil Spencer's comment that we read out live on the air. Jez Corden responded to Gene and said, "I'm not worried anymore. It'll be okay for Xbox ecosystem customers." Now, another particular post comes the way of Colt Eastwood from last night's show on XNC, and Colt Eastwood received a DM live on the air, which he reacted to, and he said this. The DM tells him, "Next week will be better. Don't believe everything you've read." Now, that's coming from Colt Eastwood. According to Colt, he says it's a DM from someone that he has extreme trust with. Take it or leave it. That's the story, folks. I think that we're going to be okay. I'm hearing some things. Things changed, folks. We, as a community, changed it. And again, I don't care what anyone says about me. If I don't like something, especially when it comes to a corporation who gets my business, I'm going to say something. I'm not going to bend the knee for the corpos. I'm just not doing that. And I think what we did as a community, again, some people went a little bit too left for some, and some people went too not enough to the right. But we have to, listen, I don't know what ultimately is going to happen next week. I don't have an insight to that. But I can tell you, if there's one person that I look towards, at least as an Xbox dude, that might have turned the tide, it's Tim Dog. You need to give that guy credit where credit is due. He went out there and he blasted them, tweet
100%.
after tweet after
he went hard.
tweet. Good on Tim Dog and let me tell you something. I know Tim. I got his cell phone number. We talk all the time. I've met him in person half a dozen times. That's a good dude. That is Mr. Xbox. And he knows Phil. Like, he knows Phil Spencer. And he blasted him online. That's how upset he was. Hats off to Tim Dog for doing that. Because sometimes these executives need to hear it. Don't take our kindness for weakness. Don't take us as fans for granted. And because of Tim's shenanigans, I think, along with everyone like me and Steele and Pong and Mav and, of course, Umbra and got out there along with the Iron Lords and all your favorite podcasts and was like, no, this isn't right, man. We're out there fighting a good fight. And you know what? I don't need you to pat me on the ass. I just want change, but I don't want the change that they're talking about.
I wonder, Boom, with that, if a few things. I put on a tinfoil kufi and borrowed it from my brother Everborn for a second. and I started talking, like I was, yeah, I got it like I just made it in prison. I'm like, well, my brother, I look at this preposterosity as an opportunity that mayhaps, if you will, Microsoft was testing the waters by having our good brother Timothy Doggy put that narrative out there to see how we as a community would react.
It's possible. You never know.
Perhaps, mayhaps. That narrative was enough to change and pivot things. Perhaps things were going to happen that way, and somebody said, no. Let's get this out there and then have the community show Xbox that this is not acceptable. That's what I have posited here in my memory bank, my brothers Steele and Boom and Mr. Bad Bit with the smooth haircut.
I love it.
Listen,
you're not wrong. And P.S. by the way, folks, 1,200 people in the chat. Holy
Hey!
macaroni. That
Hit
is
that
just craziness right there. 1.2.
At least 3 of them like me.
What?
That's nice.
Listen,
I am
folks.
so glad that I could share this tinfoil hatchery with all 1,200 of you.
Yes.
Our
You know,
wayward
we sometimes
poop
need to
pot
hear
brothers.
the tin hat foilery, if you
Tomfoolery.
will.
Mhm.
Tomfoolery, if you will.
Tomfoolery.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Look, folks, if you're enjoying the show, please consider hitting the subscribe button. Maybe we can get the 500 likes. That would be kind of cool. If you're
500.
new, folks, we are on the hunt for 15K.
Let's go.
And we can get there with your help. Consider subscribing to the channel. We'd greatly appreciate it. Mrs. Boom and I, this is our dream. It's what we do. And we're living the dream, folks. And we want to obviously get to that 20, 25, and 50K, and maybe even 100K. Maybe get that plaque one day. But we can get there by starting as we move closer to 15K. So please consider subscribing. Before we get to the next topic, let me catch up on the super chats here. Jonas the Dad. Jonas, welcome back. And brother, thank you for the $2 super chat. He says, I spend more on Game Pass than without try then buy. I mean, I buy a lot of stuff on Game Pass too, dude. I just do. They got my money. It is what it is. Nerds and other legends, welcome to the program, kind sir. He drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, I would love to see Microsoft revive Windows Phone. Yes, you and a lot of people. I'd buy one tomorrow. But make it a
never in my
Xbox.
life.
Portable Xbox SKU designed by the Surface team in addition to a dedicated console. We're going to talk about that in a hot second. You might like what we have to say. Lieutenant Hulk, sir, thank you so much for joining us. He drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, I wonder if Sony will allow Xbox games on PlayStation. I would imagine if it's going to make them money, then probably. But again, we'll see. We'll see. Scott Woodford, who's been a channel member for a month. Scott, thank you so much for that. He says, as a wrestling fan and an Xbox fan, I'm stressing more than you guys. LOL. Right. We want Cody. LOL.
I hope they do something.
Yeah, me too. Nightwolf 3186 drops an outstanding $5 super chat, and he says, just saw an article just now from WCCF Tech saying the next Xbox will have 2 SKUs, with one having a dockable handheld. Yeah, it's not confirmed because obviously Mag is telling us this, but I've heard the same thing. Highlander 001 drops a $5 super chat and says, as a Sony fan said on his show yesterday, Xbox threw their fans in the wood chipper, and they did.
God damn.
It's very. I could see the green blood all over the place for some reason.
Yeah,
hey, K Asante's here, folks. He says, dropping a 10 bomb. He says, as the wise man Daniel McGee once said, we are the primitives right now on our home planet, playing with sticks and throwing poop, aka console wars, and Starfleet just showed up with their tricorders. And he actually said that about Nintendo players, if I'm not mistaken. He said,
yeah.
So listen, okay, so I got a story here, folks, and this is where we get into the good stuff, right? This is what you tune in for. Obviously, we had our doom and gloom, right, talk, but we're talking next gen Xbox, which apparently, thanks to middle-aged gamer guy Mag, as I know him personally as well, apparently, according to AltShare, and this was written by Samir Almaric, he wrote this today. He posted it today. This comes hot on the heels of XNC last night. Next gen Xbox is on track for 2026. Features 2 SKUs or SKUs, including a Switch-like handheld. And according to the story, Xbox community member Mag, as they call him, and they're not really giving him his whole name, it's middle-aged gamer guy, allegedly has insight into Xbox's plans for the future, revealing that Xbox is still planning to release a next-gen console. As a matter of fact, they're going to be releasing 2 next-gen consoles, just like they did for this current gen. The story goes on to say the next gen Xbox will launch reportedly. The next Xbox launch will reportedly include two SKUs, a traditional high-end console, and a Switch-like dockable handheld. Phil Spencer previously stated the Xbox console is at the heart of everything that they do and everything they do and will be moving forward into the next gen. There is hardware. It is on the way. Mag has phenomenal sources. He has exploded on the scene with some of the information he's put out for Colt show on XNC. I talk to Mag all the time. Look, folks, Steele, this is I been banging the drum for years for a dedicated Xbox handheld. And in my mind, right, now I can see a world where they're going to put out a box. It's going to be the most powerful console because Phil said it. They're never going to be behind in hardware again. The next big Xbox underneath your TV is going to be the most powerful console, regardless of what the PlayStation Pro does, which is supposed to launch this year. The way that this is setting up is they're going to jump PlayStation once again. PlayStation Pro coming out this year, confirmed almost, right? They've been talking about it for a while. That's going to launch in the holiday of 2024. Maybe that's why they haven't talked about some games. Maybe they have some PlayStation exclusives that they're kind of holding on back to launch with this thing. Makes sense, right? So people run out and buy it because it's going to be the best graphics. It's supposedly going to be a pinch more powerful than the Series X. We'll see. But if Xbox releases these two new consoles in 2026, this could be the 360 all over again. And the difference this time around is that they own Bethesda, they own Activision Blizzard King, they have Xbox Game Pass, and they're going to be offering a portable and dockable Xbox, which is something I will buy and run around with, and have the traditional big power box there satisfying everyone. I think most Xbox gamers are probably going to go out and buy both. You're going to get your box that you keep under the TV. It's going to be the most powerful thing. And of course, who's not going to want to take an Xbox on the go? Now, granted, for me, I have a ROG Ally. The truth of the matter is I haven't turned it on in 4 months.
Oh,
because it's literally sitting there collecting dust. I had I know it's a travesty of justice. People are in the chat right now like, oh my God, Boom, I'll take it off your hands, sir. I will get to it eventually. I had a Steam Deck at launch, and guess what? Too much for me, man. I'm just not a PC guy. I'm not a simpleton, but I'm like, I just want to put the power button on and see my Xbox screen load up. That's all I want. I don't want anything else. But Steele, look, this is big news. This is big news because everyone has gotten a hold of it. I pulled this story because Old Chair is, they released it first. And here we are. I'm sure the VGC's got a story. I'm sure IGN's got a story. Everyone's talking about this. This is big news. A new pair of consoles in 2 years. One of which is a handheld, a dockable, a Switch-like device. Let's talk about it, man. What are your thoughts?
Man, I was kind of in the space that I was wanting them to do kind of the opposite, right? Where you would have your baseline console, which would be the $400 or $500 box, whichever they decide to do with that. And then the more expensive device would be the Switch-like device, the dockable device or whichever, only because of it being a handheld. And you want to try to put some of that additional power. Maybe you have different levels of it, like we kind of see from the Steam Deck and the ROG Ally, or maybe you just have a couple options, at least storage-wise, right? Just to make it as accessible as possible. I think that would give them more leeway. But if I'll take what Mag has put out there as a rumor, as well as many of the other things. But I do believe that there was some smoke out there about Xbox recently getting some R&D approved, and so they're working on some things in the background. So I do think that now more than ever would probably be a good time to, if Sony and Microsoft were thinking of jumping back in, they should, right? Let's get Nintendo back in the conversation, right? Because I dislike the fact that Nintendo has allowed or has worked themselves so well into the consumer base that the consumer base considers them different. The consumer, and that's kind of hard to get pulled away from now, because Nintendo had always kind of been going this direction. That's why we'll always give big ups to Nintendo and respect for the things that they have done up to this point. Although they sold me hopes and dreams with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, but nonetheless, I got what I wanted in Power World. So hey, somebody's giving it to me, Game Freak. But anyway, a Xbox.
I really wanted to see a AK-47.
Hey, it wasn't quite what I was expecting, but it's enjoyable.
No, honestly, I'm excited. I'm gonna let like a few more patches get in there, and then
it's fun.
Try it out. I really am.
It's definitely a good time.
Yeah.
But to bring it back in, as far as a handheld goes, it's definitely something that I typically don't get involved in. I tried to play Dead Cells on my mobile the other day, and it was native and all that, and I just there's something about it just doesn't sit right with me. It's like when I was younger, having that PSP experience was really dope. Modding it out, having games that just at my disposal was a really amazing experience. But I like sitting down in front of a TV. If I'm going to sit down and play some games, maybe it's just my sweaty nature because I do play multiplayer games. Even in single player games, I'm the dude who plays all the games on hard and wonders why I'm 40 hours into a game and I'm like, man, I don't know what everybody's talking about.
Can I reveal a secret live on the air? I am 30 hours into the Justice League and I haven't even fought the Justice League. I'm just running around collecting guns, shooting up shit. What a great freaking game, Joe! I know that you're enjoying the hell out of it.
I'm enjoying it.
So
but
good.
I'm like, it's a really good experience. It's like for me, it's like I've beaten it. I've reached the end game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a solid 7 for me. And I could definitely see where people are like, this game sucks, and then like see where people go like me, like, oh, this game's really good. Like, yeah, sure. Like for example, our friend of me, Luke Lore over at the XCP, who did literally the best interview of all time with Steven Tortillo.
It was great interview by him. Yeah,
honestly, he's the greatest interviewer online. Just full stop. But I hate his guts and he's stupid. But he hates this game. He hates it with such a strong.
I saw that.
Passion.
I was very surprised by his commentary. I was actually
because it's been a rough week for him. So like I could see where people are all over the map with this game, but like I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, 1,000%. But yeah, I mean, I definitely see the potential in it. I do hope that they do the reverse because at least that gives them additional leeway. You might as well be competitive if there's going to be a ROG Ally 2, if there's going to be a Steam Deck 2. You might as well just jump into the conversation and just really have. Again, if you're preaching this accessibility and all of that, if you can get in everybody's pockets and kind of know what's happening behind the scenes, because that's the other part of this that I think people are kind of overlooking, is that some of these plans that are happening, again, with the rumors and whatnot, I would be more so fearful with how much access we would be giving Microsoft in totality in the background, and with the knowledge that they would have with other sides of things, other hardware manufacturing and so forth, as we move into the future. Again, not saying that Microsoft will monopolize again, but again, you're a $3 trillion company for a reason, right? And you're going to try to do everything that you feel is necessary. Again, I think to my point earlier, though, with their outlook on hardware now, especially with them saying, hey, we kind of concede in the hardware market. And I know a lot of people don't like that. I actually think that frees them, right? To allow them to innovate in ways that is not beholden by such outside of the mainline console, right?
Mm.
Hey, mainline console for the hardcore, but this also allows, because we're not dependent on this. If it sells, it sells. But since we're not dependent, hey, we got a handheld device. Maybe that blows up. Maybe it doesn't. You could try that out for a generation at least. And then from there, you kind of decide what are people doing? What are people's buying habits? And then kind of move from there. So,
I mean, listen, there's a world where I think both can exist. I like the fact that, again, this is a rumor, folks. Take it with a grain of salt. But I'm here to tell you that knowing Mag, and I know him personally, we talk all the time. He has really good sources, and everything that he's told me that I keep close to the vest. I don't say much of nothing because it's not my place to. I get excited as a big old nerd when I hear some stuff that maybe I'm not supposed to hear, which is fine. I don't put it out there on the socials because I'm not looking for clout like that. I just get excited the fact I get to hear some behind the scenes stuff.
Right.
His connections are real, and they're really good. For me, I'm excited because what this ultimately does is it addresses two different fan bases. And I understand that, like, the reason why we heard about this whole travesty of justice move to third party thing is because the bean counters want their return on investments ASAP, right? They're not willing to wait. And something like this, at least this is my opinion on it. I think when and if it does release in 2026, it will then produce a seismic shift in the industry. Not because Microsoft bought other publishers. By then, Activision, Blizzard King, fully integrated. They're churning out these incredible AAA games. They're all different kinds of budgets. They're big budgets, small budgets, medium budgets. You're going to have some AA, single A, some indies. This releases in 2026. There's a couple of points of contention here, Umbra. It jumps Sony by potentially a year or two, right? We don't know if Sony is locked and loaded for 2027 or 2028. We know that they're not going 2026. They're just not. They're not ready for that. If they release in 2026 and they have ABK and they have Blizzard and they have Xbox Game Studios and everyone's hitting on all cylinders, you're going to then take these two new Xbox consoles and you're going to put them out into the ether. And the hardcore are going to go buy the most powerful box underneath their TV. And there's going to be a subset of casuals, maybe even a whole bunch of new gamers that are going to see this dockable handheld and be like, wait a second, I'm playing these games on a hand like a Switch. And they're going to go out and they're going to buy it. And that is where you're going to see the seismic shift, at least in my humble opinion. Umber, what is yours, sir?
Well, I like the thought of it. I like
the optimism.
Yeah, I like that the thought of it, of having that. I wonder how
Team Green for life, ladies and gentlemen. There we go.
Absolutely. Being a ROG Ally enjoyer, I guess I could say. No, I like the promise of that. I just wonder a few things. Okay, like much like you still, sometimes it's kind of like hard to go to that and say, hey, I'm going to play my games on this bitty 7-inch screen or this 8-inch screen, depending on what you have. Legion Go, for instance, is 8-inch, I believe. So it's kind of tough in that regard. Also, too, I wonder then how strong is the technology inside, because I don't want to just have my stuff cloud streaming to it all the time. I want to be able to natively place this on there. With my ROG Ally, I can natively store games to that and play it off of it. I have Pal World, which Bad Bit you absolutely need to check out. It's actually pretty fun.
I really do. I really do. I downloaded it on my Xbox, but people are telling me maybe you want to do the PC version because that one is a little bit more up to date or something.
It's more stable. It is. Yeah, they get more patches and things like that for it.
Gotcha.
But absolutely, I would say try it out. Also, too, like if you know someone who's good at survival type games like that, like the Ark stuff, you have them help you. I have my friend. I use him as one of my helpers. And he's helped me get these achievements. I got 2 left.
Okay.
2 left. Get 50 and 90 pals, and I'm done. So that said, I look at it from the perspective of having this handheld with the ROG Ally. Now, the ROG Ally is pretty powerful. The Legion Go is pretty powerful. Is the possible handheld for Xbox going to be that? To me, it has to be in that area. It has to be in that same, kind of technological sphere, because if it's not, I don't know how that's going to work. To me, it's like, for instance, we had that whole, what was that cloud device? I forgot the name of it.
G-Cloud?
G-Cloud. Thank you. It was pretty much dead in the water, right?
Yeah.
As soon as we heard about it, it was like, okay, it's just cloud streaming. That's not going to work. It's kind of like the PlayStation Portal to me. I think I felt the same way.
Thing, man.
You love it?
Yeah.
I
do. like real talk, like because I'm a Portal pal. otherwise known as a PP for short. We're hard and stiff in our resolve.
Oh,
That
Lord,
Portal is the
Lord.
best way to
Freaking
play
that's a
mobile.
giant pause there, Mr.
No, no problem.
Every
Resume.
time I say that on a
Resume.
podcast, people are like, whoa, listen.
No, resume.
We
Go ahead.
stand firm. We're erect in our cause, you know.
Whoa, okay, take it further. Yeah, there you go.
No, but,
This is gonna turn into where's the porno music? Damn it!
Oh,
but like real
yeah.
talk, like none of this surprises me. I think both PlayStation and Xbox, everybody has seen the Switch's success and goes, we want in on this. Like when you take a look at like the the little documentaries behind like the making of, I think it was the Xbox 360 and like the Series X, like they had so many different type of revisions for these things. There's easily dozens of these, so of course there's going to be one of them that's a handheld. Like to me, I'm like, that's a given. Like we were seeing rumors of the same with PlayStation. I'm like, that's a given. Look at how popular in you guys don't know your Xbox guys. So like in the PlayStation realm, like PSVR 2 is DOA, right? Like there's not much support of it. Very much the Schreier article was correct. It seems like they're very much it's here, you know. But like I think they were very much caught by surprise from the Portal. And we see it every time that thing's up, it sells out. So I think that like a lot of these companies are trying ideas out there, and they see the success of the Steam Deck. Xbox sees the success of all these mobile things. They want to get their app on those mobile devices, and so it only makes sense that like they go and try to make one themselves. So like to me, I'm like, yeah, I could believe that. I think that's a really easy thing to say out loud, and like people nod and agree for sure. I think that's the case. Do I want one? Yes, but so I like the Steam Deck a lot, but it is really heavy in my hands and the grips aren't that great to me. The reason why I like my Portal, why I'm a Portal pal for life, is because what they did was, it's ugly as sin. I get it. But they just like, hey, here's the controller. We're going to saw it in half and we're going to stick it between a screen. I want this thing to be ergonomic. I don't need this thing to be like eye candy. So for me, I like Xbox has, guys, ready for this PlayStation fanboy over here. They have the better controller. It's way more ergonomic.
Who has the better? Who has the better? Oh, okay. I thought you said the DualSense.
No, I mean I prefer my DualSense, but like it's obvious that this thing's the better one.
Okay, well, you see, he has good taste, fellas.
Don't trust him anyway. So yeah, no, you like saw this thing in half, put it on, in between a screen, and you're good. You're golden. You don't have to do anything much else. I hate when like it's all fully formed into the screen because my fingers can't wrap around the controller any good. And I think that's why I like the Portal's feel. I think feel to me is the most important thing besides power. I want it to feel good in my hands so that, look, I got old man hands, right? It clicks every time I move my wrists. I don't want to get carpal tunnel while I'm playing this thing. And I also think it is just the way that most people, and I think like kids, are playing. Remember what I talked about earlier? You know, what do these consoles see as the threat? iPads and iPhones. So why not make a portable version of what you do? It just makes sense. Now, is the technology there yet? Oh, I'm not a rocket scientist. I don't know any of that. But I'm just hoping that when this thing comes out, it has reasonable enough power so that it could last for like 4 hours. That's what I really need, you know? And if you're gaming on a handheld for more than 4 hours, you're going to give yourself like scoliosis. So like, let's not do that.
I will agree with you that after so long, it's tough to continue playing on that thing. But I think for certain games, right? He plays like I think maybe some turn-based RPGs and stuff like that, such as
I played Suicide Squad last night.
Sea of Stars, for instance, plays
Sea of
really
Stars
well
perfect.
But I like your thinking on it. I wouldn't necessarily want the form factor of the Xbox controller on it, but I wouldn't be against it either. For me, I think the form factor and the styling of it all matters as far as that, as well as the ergonomics. So I think all of that has to play into it. I think they can do it, but again, how much are you going to invest in it? It can't be some lower SKU model. It's going to have to cost a pretty penny. I would imagine the ROG Ally, for instance, was $700 in tax.
That's what you say.
Can you have a cheaper device that's going to be delivering next gen I don't know.
Mm,
So I don't know how that works out. I mean, now they can't have it where it gives you a lower performance, I suppose, undocked. And when you dock it, like you would dock a ROG Ally
Yeah,
to a thing.
100%.
Maybe they can do that because you can dock the ROG Ally. They have a device for it where you can plug it essentially to a 4090.
Yes.
So maybe that's
$2,000.
right. yeah. To be fair, it's really costly, but
that said, boys, I love you all very much. My dog,
much love.
we're crate training her, and
Okay.
she's right now hooting and hollering like you wouldn't believe it.
No,
So I'm gonna
sweat,
be
Joe.
going.
Thanks so much, brother.
Exactly. I love being on as always. Boom. Anytime I'm here. Everybody, you can find me, where at Mr. Badbit.
Yes, Mr. Badbit, the trophy room, folks. One of the best
That's right.
PlayStation shows. They don't fanboy there, folks. They talk about games. They do. They have a good time with it.
We have a really, dude. This week's gonna be fun, man. Final Fantasy VII, Rebirth.
Coming up.
yeah.
Demo. Let's go.
Demo
We're gonna
today,
be
right?
fun.
It's the demo today, right?
Yeah, after
Yes.
the
show. Yep.
Nice,
show.
nice.
But love y'all. See y'all.
All
All right,
Good luck.
Joe. Love you, brother.
Have a good
Talk
one.
to you soon.
Yeah. Speaking of that Rebirth, I know you all saw that article about Square Enix trying to reconnect.
Yeah, they're gonna refocus on how they make games as they have to. They're losing money left, right, and center at that company.
Yeah, they failed
They're
too many
just-
times. Yeah.
That's what they get. They put
Yeah.
Sony first. It's kind of like us. I think it's a relationship like us. We put Xbox first, and look how they betrayed us. No, I'm joking. But seriously, no, I think the handheld has some potential. Again, I just wonder how it's going to be executed. That's the biggest thing.
They can innovate, man. That's
it
what's so
could.
special about that. Again, if the stuff is true about how they're going to use ARM and whatnot, and again, I know not a lot of people are familiar with that. And again, I'm not the super technical dude either. But from my basic understanding, I would say, the main thing with ARM is that's what we use in our mobile devices. And if you think about it, the way that they've been able to get the battery life in our mobile devices and get the amount of power we're able to get out of it, even if ARM, because the thing that's great about ARM is good at doing one specific thing. So if we were able to get ARM to, for an example, run the operating system for this, run the operating system would just run the base level of whatever console, whatever system, and then you could pack in more graphic processing power or a better process, whatever the case. If it opens up room for you to innovate in other areas, maybe that's a way we cross that boundary between, because I do think the next space that you have to confront, and I think Microsoft is going to be the best one to do that, just because they have Windows and they have a gaming side, which are now directly part of each other, and they both get respected. Well, I guess we'll find out next week by how much, but with them having that knowledge, and I think that they're, especially working on Windows Lite currently right now, there is so many things to speak to. A lot of people don't want to get a PC because of the complications. You spoke to it all the time, Boom. And again, that's the reality of it. No matter what anybody else tells you, oh, it's not that bad these days, and that's fair. But people, the consumer, would love to just turn something on and just get access to whatever they're trying to get access to. Not worry about, oh, I got to download this driver, and oh, my USB ports is not working, and oh man, I don't have enough power for my graphics card, and like nobody wants to worry about all that all the time. They just want to pick up a device and go. So it's potential. I hope there's some ingenuity there. That's what gets me excited about the console space overall, is because that's where you can innovate. You got to pack so much in these little consoles or mini PCs as they're becoming as we move into the future zone.
Yeah, absolutely. I know there have been people who have been clamoring for an Xbox device, by the way. So I think if they can nail having, again, a native device, that's the biggest thing, a native device for Game Pass and games, right? Yeah. So like you said, things they have to innovate, and maybe the technology is right enough now where they can compact so much more into a smaller thing, a device, if you will, and allow for that. Who knows? I know some people are like, oh, they mass produce it. How much is Microsoft willing to?
I hope I'm buying both. They get my money. I'm gonna spend again. One's gonna be about $400. I think that's the rumor. The other one's gonna be a $500 box, maybe even a little bit more. They're getting my $1,000.
Wait. $4? You say $4 for the the mobile one that you can?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, again,
that sounds too low to me.
That's why I was saying I hope it's opposite.
Yeah, that sounds way too low.
I would hope it's the opposite.
So you think the dockable is more expensive?
It had to be.
just because of what you're
Of
able
the
to do.
portability.
Yeah.
Maybe.
If you're going to be able to hook it up to your TV and maybe get 1440p 60, if everything is on a perfect day, possibly upscale of 4K, which I don't know if we're quite there yet. Again, I don't have a handheld to play with to really figure out and decide, but I mean, I would think so, just to give them some leeway. And even at that point, what you could do, especially because the biggest thing that I like to consider is the handheld PC market has existed for some time, but within the last couple of years, have they gotten under $1,000? So if we go another 5 years, 6 years, and they come out with this device, it could be $500, depending. It could be very well 700. But the great thing about it, you could also make it a limited device, see how well it does out there, and say, hey, this is something new we're doing. If we get enough orders or whatever the case, we'll look at maybe making more. But what do you guys think? You know what I'm saying?
I think you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
I
the
agree.
pricing of the devices and the technology inside is going to get cheaper. But I wonder too. Again, I would go back to pricing wise.
Yeah,
I would think it would have to be more. I would think, just because of the, just looking at the ROG. And somebody asked in the chat, would you take it if it was cloud only? I would.
No,
personally. No. I'm sorry, I don't want just a cloud device.
No, I think. Well, listen. Again, we don't know. The device has to have memory options.
Yeah,
if I'm gonna take it on the go, you got to let me put a game on that thing. I don't care whether it's gonna 500 gigs, 1,000, 1 terabyte. It's got to have onboard memory, because that's actually what killed the G Cloud. It was just a cloud-based thing. That's the problem with Sony's machine. I've held it. I've used it. The screen is pretty good. I mean, when I was hanging out with my buddies over a couple weekends ago, I was playing, what the heck was I playing? Last of Us. It looked really good on it, and it ran really good. And the controllers in the hand, it didn't feel bad at all. The problem is that it's only cloud-based. You can't drop any memory onto that. That, to me, is a problem. Yeah, that's why this device is going to be they said it, a hybrid of a mobile device. It's going to have to be dockable, but like the Switch, you're going to be able to put games on it. Now, obviously, it's not going to have cards, but you'll be able to download games to it, which is, again, I think an absolute must.
Absolutely.
I mean, listen, take it with a grain of salt, folks. We don't know for sure. What we do know, though, is that hardware isn't going anywhere. I think that was a big concern for a lot of people. Like, oh no, what is going to happen to my digital library? I know that Phil right now is not sitting in the best position when it comes to should we believe him or not. I'm not going out on the ledge here. I believe Phil Spencer. I think that a lot of the decisions that we heard that may have been happening, that we heard over the weekend, had a lot to do with the fact that Microsoft as a company looks at now the eyes of the money men and women are on Xbox because it's ahead of Windows. When that happened, unfortunately, the bean counters got involved, and all of these fine folks that used to look at Xbox as like the kids table. Yeah, we pay no attention to them. That's the kids table. Now they're ahead of Windows, which is they're one of their big aspects of the company. Now everyone is looking at it, and they all want their return on investments immediately. They don't have patience, and they're not in the game of, well, we'll just wait 3 years to get our investment back. They want it now, which is why we saw this rush to judgment rumored or alleged rush to judgment. We'll know more next week. And again, I'm not going to front here, folks.
Yeah,
I'm annoyed that I have to wait till next week, but you know what? It is what it is. At least we know there's a timeline. We know that they're listening. Is that the best answer we could have gotten? No, not really. It was very corpo, and I don't like it, especially the business meeting. I don't like the terminology. I'm going to be honest with you, but we'll know next week. The one thing I can say is the more we hear from Jez Corden, the more we hear from Gene Park, the more we hear from Jeff Grubb and Tom Henderson and Tom Warren, Paul Tassi, we're starting to get a sentiment that maybe there was an ideology that they were going to go with, and they changed. And they changed thanks to people like Tim Dog and Clobriel and us getting out here and talking about it, showing our absolute distaste for this kind of move. But look, ladies and gentlemen,
Boom. Before you move off that, I just want to say one thing.
Sure, go
And
ahead.
mind you, I said that this started for May Friday. You all are privy to some of that, of course,
Yes.
behind the scenes. I just want to point out to us as a community, guys, just because you possibly hear some news you don't like, don't turn into a real nasty community.
Yeah, that's so. Yeah,
Please don't do that. Don't be that guy or gal. Don't do
Right.
that. Yes.
This person that a lot of you all, I'm not going to say targeted, but demonized.
Yes,
You
I
put-
saw it.
You
Very
put them in a
disappointing.
really bad position. And
Very disappointing.
you also sullied another person like Idle Sloth, who I have to give love and shout out, by the way, who worked. I asked him 4 different times to reword and take certain things down because it could jeopardize this person's position. I don't want to say names. I'm not going to. And I ask you all not to as well in the chat if you know who I'm talking about. But this person also made a tweet and posted that, don't worry, you all will be fine. That's all they said. Now, they did mention, the other part was Sarah Bond. However, that's exactly what we're hearing now.
Yes.
We'll be fine. You see how that aligned and everything, but you all
Yep.
demonize them, not y'all, but the people who did it.
Yeah. No, we know who did it.
So I'm saying this as us as a community, we have to be better than that to start
Indeed.
demonizing people just because we hear something we don't like.
that's
say,
so
hey,
stupid.
say you don't believe them. Say, hey, I don't believe this. I need to see this for myself. That's fine.
Name calling is just it's not the answer.
Yeah, it's so stupid that like people want to get information from the gaming industry and people that are within it, and then when people give you information and it's something that you didn't like to hear, now we got to act like children. Like, come on, dude, is this a
Don't do
hobby,
that.
a passion? What are we talking about? What are we doing?
Mhm.
Why are we attacking people's personal lives and trying to attack these? Like, it's just so stupid. It gets way beyond the point at that. And I'm right there with you, Umber, and I can't have respect for people that do that.
Exactly. And I know you two brothers
yeah.
understand it fully. And that's what part of why I respect you both so much. But chat family,
Please.
Again, I got nothing but love for you all too. I know you all are good people at the end of the day.
Yep.
And all of us are, I think, decent people, but we have ways of doing bad things. And even those who did that, I know it was coming from a place of fear.
Right.
But you have to be careful, because these people are people at the end of the day too, just like you.
Yeah.
And this person was affected by that, and this person took it upon themselves to come into to the community and say, hey, I don't think I'm better than you. I'm going to mingle with you and talk with you.
Mhm.
When we do that, we push these people out and away from us.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So we have to be careful when it comes to that. I'm not trying to preach to you guys. I'm just saying.
No,
we
you're
can be
being
better.
fair. You're being fair. Absolutely. No, I love to hear it. And I think people need to hear that, because you got to remember, folks, they have feelings. They bleed, they sweat, they sleep, they get stressed. And when they take it upon themselves to come out to the community, we're supposed to be better. We're supposed to be welcoming. Don't be, again, we put on blast the PlayStation community because they're nasty, right? They're overly pointed. They show signs of tribalism at its finest. Don't be like that. Don't let others say, "Oh, that community, Xbox community, they were good, but now they're just a bunch of jerks." Don't do that. You don't have to do that. Be better, as they say. Really quick, let's get to the we'll get to the outros in a second, folks. Hopefully you enjoyed the show enough to consider subscribing. If you're not already subscribing, of course, before you get out of here, hit the like button, folks. We had a great show, a lot of great conversation. We had a surprise guest with Mr. Badbit. Scott Gamer Dude drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, "Hello, Boom. Congrats. 1,000 plus watching. Don't be IGN chat room. Play a game for 30 plus hours and say they don't like it. Hit the likes." Yeah, that chat room for IGN, they're just you know how I feel about IGN. Yeah, you can't spell ignorant without IGN. Sorry, that's just That's a fact, folks. Torino Johnson drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, "What if Phil is talking about acquisitions future ABK instead of the narrative that has been running?
Yeah.
Everyone calm down until you know for sure." Yeah, he is. I know for a fact that they're addressing it. They're not going to allow it just to fester. I wish they would have addressed it this week, but they will be addressing it in full detail next week. I just don't know when. General Spartan 27, who's been a channel member for 10 months. Thank you so much for the generosity, dude. He says, if the next gen Xbox launches in 2026, casuals will flock to it for the new Call of Duty. Meanwhile, Elder Scrolls 6 could be a launch title, among others. Yes, that is expected to be a launch title, brother, and that would be record sales for that game, as well as people coming in. Could you imagine playing Call of Duty not on mobile, but on a handheld? Oh man, sign me up. Nino Vostek, who generous friend of the program, he has gifted folks one double barrel gaming membership. Brother, that's very kind of you. Thank you for the generosity. We have G Mania 1 drops a very generous $10 super chat and says, after this weekend with rumors of Starfield and other Xbox games going to the PlayStation 5, the stores around me have sold out all of their PS5s in 2 days. I'll laugh if those rumors are false. I mean, look, I have a PlayStation 5. There's a lot of really great games on there. Now, maybe they're not for you, they're for me, which is why I have a PS5, but that would be funny if those games don't show up on PlayStation 5. But Michael Mooney drops an additional very generous £5 super chat and says, what about a handheld that can load games remotely from your console? I mean, the remote play is something that the Sony handheld does. I think it should be an option, but it shouldn't be the console. The console needs to be a Switch-like console where it has dockable, a dock where it drops in, your TV turns on, you're playing it, and or it needs memory. You need to be able to download your games to this thing. That's just my take, because I don't want to play games from the cloud. I want to play them natively. That's just me. But Steel Rain, brother, let's tell the brand. Saturday mornings, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, him and Pong Soul do a 3, 4, and even 5-hour podcast. And this show is called Living Split Screen. They have lofty goals to get some subs, to reach some very attainable places on YouTube. They hit 1,000 subs last year. They want to continue building, and choo choo, mother, father, sister, brothers, all the way to 5,000 subscribers. We can help him we can help him get there by subscribing. Sell your brand, brother. Talk about it. And where can people reach out to you on social media?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, the beautiful people, I'll start off with, you can find me, Steel Rain. That's Steel Rain. The T is a 7 everywhere. Easiest place, just type it into Google. You'll find all my information there. And if not, you want to know specifics, well, I'm right here locked in with Boom every Tuesday. Been enjoying myself, having a permanent room that I can just set my stuff up, hang my posters up, and finally get my TV mounted in there, man, and just get my game on, So that's been a good time. And Saturday morning, like Boom mentioned, 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern, and 3 p.m. UK time. Me and my brother from another Pawn Soul do a non-console-centric platform that talks about everything going on within the gaming industry. We're the home of that RTS approach, where we pull ourselves out of the world, look at the darker crevices of the map, pull our resources together so we can not only build up our own foundation, but also the foundation to potentially reach those 3 billion gamers. And also, to your point, Boom, I got some lofty goals for us. It's going to require some work, more so, for sure. Everything requires work if you want it to work, no pun intended. And it's, we got long shows. We start breaking it down. I'm pretty sure we start seeing a flux, but hey, with all things, real life still happens in the background. Guys, this is our hobby. This is our passion. We come sit down with you all in chat to engage and have great conversation, and that's the best thing. And then upcoming, not this weekend, but I believe the weekend after, I believe that's going to be February 18th. The brother 3-Bit announced that he is also a fellow dev within the gaming industry. And again, the more people that we can get out there and give them a comfortable space to kind of talk what they've experienced, even give their own input. I think that's always a beautiful thing to have, and it's an honor for him to be part of that with him. So look out for Pixelated Echoes. It's going to be 2 p.m. Central on Sunday. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, much love, stay safe, and catch y'all next time on the Xbox Factor Podcast.
Brother, thank you so much. And last and no way least, Infinite Umbra, sell the brand of the fix. You and Danny do a show each and every Thursday. I believe it's 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct. Yeah.
And listen, it's a great show. Lots of big talk. And obviously, listen, you should be subscribed to it because, you know, he gets guests on that sometime reveal some big news. Sell the brand, brother. Talk about where they can help you and Danny reach your lofty goals for subscribers on your YouTube channel. And more importantly, where could people reach out to you on social media?
Yes, indeed. Great show, fellas, as always. It's a treat to talk with you too. Shout out to Bad Bit for coming through as well. A shout out to and love to the chat family. Nothing but love for you guys for holding us down as you do. And to the what was it, 1,200 that came through?
1,200, yeah.
1,200. Now I don't know if everybody hit the like button. I hope you did, because I know Colt got 1,000, and that was monumental for him as far as likes on his show. So if you liked what we talked about, hit the like and, you know, help Boom this brother out. He's doing 5 shows a week. You know, you don't do that without passion. So you're welcome. Thank you for having me as a panel member. I want to say also, absolutely, this Thursday on the Fix, I have a guest that I've reached out to, and he might be able to make it. And it's the now often talked about, controversial now, Tim Dog. So I'm trying to get
very nice. Yes, that's a big one.
Absolutely. So I have him hopefully coming through, and I have my brother Pete trying to come through as well from the Infinite podcast. So we'll see how that works out. Tim is pretty busy, and sometimes his schedule might not line up, but that's what I have so far. If not, I might get another name to come through that you all would know and appreciate. So come through. I put my link in the chat. If you have not done so, please go there and subscribe, or come by on Thursday to hear us out and give us a listen and say, you know, if you want to judge before you do so. One thing I just wanted to throw out there again, throw out there, as far as if anybody is listening to this and they hear this voice of mine. Somebody had told me earlier, they said, you really need to push more to try to get into voice acting, et cetera, et cetera. And I said, I do want to do that. I know I talked with my brother Kay, and he said the same and things like that. And, you know, I would love to get into voice acting somehow. If anyone is actually listening to this, because I know there's plenty of people that listen and that are in the industry possibly and making something. I wouldn't care if it's the smallest indie game or whatever it could be. If I could help out on that project, hit a brother up on Twitter X, and you can find me there on Infinite Umbra or Umbra Infinite. You like the way I parlayed that into that?
That was good.
Was that kind of cool? That was kind of clean, right? I thought it was. No, but shout out to the chat, shout out to everybody listening, and shout out to you two brothers.
Well, thank you, brother. Super appreciate you being here. And yeah, you definitely need to get into voice acting for sure. You did an amazing Halo table read, which was dope, and you killed it. I don't see why you couldn't get into it. But folks, listen, thank you so much for tuning in to this week's new episode of the Xbox Factor podcast. Again, please consider subscribing and hitting that like button on your way out the door. And if you're feeling extra generous, folks, share this out on social media. A big thank you to all of the super chats. And I believe, hold on a sec, we did get one on the back end. Let me get to that. We have actually 2 new super chats. Nightwolf 3186 drops an additional very generous $5 super chat and says, don't forget, if you're a pirate fan, Skull and Bones beta is this Thursday. I think that's going to be, like I said, I have Ubisoft Plus, so I'm going to play it. I'm going to give it the old college effort when the full game releases. Gamer by Choice drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, salute to the panel. You're awesome, brother. Salute to you as well. Thank you for the generosity and, of course, the kind words. And a big thank you to all of the very generous super chats and channel memberships that continue to come in. You'll see in the chat tomorrow that I will have uploaded all of the new chat icons that were delivered very late last night by Sean Labrie, the very talented artist. And of course, folks, I'm going to close out today's show with something that's incredibly important to me. Hopefully, one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. We'll see you next week on the newest episode of the Xbox Factor Podcast.